host for the Bulls Talk Podcast, Phil. Welcome to the sixth episode of Bulls Talk Podcast. This podcast and future episodes for Bulls Talk Podcast only exclusively only on YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Um, Once this episode is finished recording, I will upload it on YouTube and I will send a link on my Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter, PDUH10. Again, you can follow me on Twitter, PDUH10. That's my username on Twitter. I'm got a lot of things to talk about for this episode, for the Bulls Talk podcast. I know I said the last episode that I'm going to do like a kind of like a tribute and talk about memories regarding both Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose moments when they were playing for the Chicago Bulls, which now both will be playing for the New York Knicks. I was going to also put highlights videos package regarding both Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah on my YouTube channel, but I'm gonna put that on hold and probably do it the next episode, which possible next week at the earliest. I want to talk about something else regarding for this episode. I'm gonna talk about giving my input regarding the Dwyane Wade signing with the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to talk about how how it's gonna fit under Fred Hoiberg pace and spread the floor system. I'm gonna talk about how this may affect for the 2017 and possible 2018 plan regarding free agents, and how this will. And also, got something to say regarding regarding these critics regarding the signing of Dwyane Wade, regarding any critics regarding towards the media outlets, especially mainly the ESPN media. I'm also want to send a message to my fellow Bulls fan who listen to this podcast, whether it's from RealGM.com on the Chicago Bulls sub forum, the ESPN Chicago Bulls forum, or on Twitter, or anywhere on the internet on social media. So stay tuned for that. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, just last week, man, big news that you already know that Dwyane Wade will sign with the Chicago Bulls for 2 years, $47 million. I believe he will have a player option after 1 year, which he can option out next year and become a free agent again next summer in 2017. And it's only for $47 million. And I say this on Twitter and even on the Real GM Chicago Bulls forum that I was speechless after the confirmation that Dwyane Wade reports that Dwyane Wade will leave the Miami Heat and will sign with the Chicago Bulls. Yes, he born in Chicago, but he's been playing for the Miami Heat all his career for 13 years. 13 great years for him and the Miami Heat organization. I'm speechless, surprised, and shocked. No one, not just me, but no one expect that Dwyane Wade will leave the Miami Heat and play for any other team. It's just a surprising move. It's surprising, because Dwyane Wade played for the Miami Heat for 13 years. He built a culture there. He's a icon over there. He won 3 NBA championship with the Miami Heat, and now it's come to the end. Of course, now there were reports that Dwyane Wade and Pat Riley don't see eye to eye because Dwyane Wade wants to get paid. He sacrificed for over the last few years, taking pay cut after pay cut after pay cut. It's been happening for quite some time. Uh, and then there were reports early on when he decided to option out his contract this summer to become a free agent. There's reports that Pat Riley offered Dwyane Wade for $10 million, which he really low ball. It's a really low balling offer. After what I did build that franchise, I would be really upset if I was him too. 10 offer for years and $40 million. Well, anyways, Dwyane Wade had meet with other teams. He meet the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, and of course the Miami Heat. Which he had a meeting with those teams last Wednesday in New York, and there's been reports that not Miami Heat, excuse me, the Denver Nuggets, who have more cap room and can offer Dwyane Wade more than what the Chicago Bulls are offering, including the Miami Heat. There have been reports that Denver Nuggets did offer Dwyane Wade 2 years for $50 million, which is more than what the Chicago Bulls currently offering. Um, and Denver, Denver have more cap room than the Chicago Bulls. While the Chicago Bulls can shred that salary to make deals to clear some cap room, which is what they did to sign Dwyane Wade. Uh, there were, of course, if you follow the story regarding Dwyane Wade, that on Wednesday when Chicago was supposed to meet Dwyane Wade in New York, but there's a flight delay to keep delaying in Chicago to go to New York. The Chicago Bulls front office, I believe Carl Foreman, Sean Paxson, I don't know who else, uh, that's supposed to schedule a meeting with Dwyane Wade in New York. Supposed to fly from Chicago to New York for the meeting on last Wednesday, but there's reports there's a flight delay. There's Bulls fans were upset about it. Think that either Dwyane Wade's not serious about playing for the Chicago Bulls, or that the Chicago Bulls front office are not serious uh, signing Dwyane Wade. You gotta keep in mind, back in 2010, when Dwyane Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh were free agents over that summer, that Dwyane Wade, or a lot of Bulls fans, including myself, um, think that Dwyane Wade was using the Chicago Bulls that year, at that time, and then they are on the former Big Three with LeBron James and Chris Bosh with the Miami Heat. And you gotta keep in mind, he even stated that year, 2010, or earlier before that the Chicago Bulls, that he was questioning the Chicago Bulls' loyalty to their players, and that kind of stuff. That's where some fans, where it's coming from the fans, think that Dwyane Wade may be using the Chicago Bulls and other teams for leverage, so he can get paid and to stay with the Miami Heat. But that is not the case. Well, he do want to get paid, and it seems like from all the reports I've been reading that he's been fed up with the Miami Heat. So he stated that you don't see him play any other team besides Miami Heat is the Chicago Bulls, which he born in Chicago. That's his next alternative. He doesn't see himself playing any other team beside those two teams. Miami Heat's the first option, and Chicago Bulls the alternative. So he decided to sign with the Chicago Bulls. And I'm pretty surprised. A lot of people, including myself, think he will finish his career with the Miami Heat and stick with one team, just like you see Tim Duncan is going to finish with his career with the San Antonio Spurs. Looks like Derek Nowitzki will finish his career with the Dallas Mavericks. Kobe Bryant, who just officially retired after this past season, want to stick with one team with the Los Angeles Lakers. And a lot of people thought Dwyane Wade will not play any other team but the Miami Heat. After all, like I said earlier, He's an icon over there. He built a culture with that organization. He built a great relationship with that organization. Won 3 NBA championship with the Miami Heat, and boom, he left and signed with the Chicago Bulls. Now I want to talk about. There's a lot of criticize from Bulls fans, media about this pickup that Chicago Bulls signed with Dwyane Wade. And some of the critics I understand. Some of the critics I actually agree. And what I agree is, how does this fit under Fred Holbert's system? Keep in mind, Fred Holbert's system is more pace and spread the floor. We all know that Dwyane Wade is not known as a good outside 3-point shooter. We all know that Rajon Rondo is not a good outside shooter, nor even a good mid-range shooter. We all know that Jimmy Butler is not known as a good 3-point shooter, or doesn't take much shot behind the arc. And if you start those three with your starting lineup, that will be troublesome for the Chicago Bulls to spread out the floor. If you decide to start Rajon Rondo, Dwyane Wade, and Jimmy Butler on the court, they're not known as good 3-point shooters. So how does that fit? I understand that the criticism, and I'm with you there. I agree with whoever criticized, thinking how is it gonna fit under Fred Holbert's system with the pace and spread out the floor, because since they're not known as the 3-point shooters, this will be trouble for the Chicago Bulls when the defense can, all they do is pack up the paint, and then force them to shoot outside shots. If Fred Holbert decided to start Rajon Rondo, Dwyane Wade, and Jimmy Butler, and plus of course Robin Lopez starting at the center, most likely Fred Holbert should start Nikola at the 4, which is the only one that can stretch out the floor as a stretch 4. But that's the only threat you have at the floor. If you start with, as a starting power forward with Robin Lopez, Jimmy Butler, Dwyane Wade, and Rajon Rondo, all they do, they can pack the paint and have someone close out Nikola. And keep in mind, Nikola is not known as a great 3-point shooter the last couple of seasons, even though he did play well after his surgery, removed his appendix. And I believe he shoot about 38% behind the arc. And to be fair, I want to mention about Rajon Rondo. I did brought up the past couple of episodes on my podcast. Rajon Rondo did shoot about 37% behind the arc last season when he was playing for the Sacramento Kings. But will that happen again? That's why you get to play the game. You never know. Possible. Dwyane Wade did shoot the behind the arc well in the playoffs this past year. So who knows? If anything, if I was Fred Hoiberg, if he planned to start Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler, and Dwyane Wade together, it's best to either he only have 2 options: either make adjustment with his offense scheme, or change his system. It's one of those 2 options. You can try and keep that option, keep your system, but you better hope that Dwyane Wade, Jimmy Butler, and Rajon Rondo shoot at least a respectable percentage from the behind the arc. I'm not counting on it, but if I was him, and if he decide to start Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler, and Dwyane Wade together on the court and play those 3 together on the court, I will make some adjustment. At the very least, make some adjustment on the offense scheme. The best possible offense with that lineup, you probably have to get some stops, forcing turnovers, rebounding basketball, that kind of stuff, and push the ball to get in transition for easy basket. I believe Rajon Rondo will be able to do that. He's a distributor type of point guard that will get his teammates involved, to get fast break points. So there's that. But in a half court set, it's a whole different story. You gotta you have to be creative with this game when you decide to play Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler, and Dwyane Wade together on the court. More possibly, don't rely too many isolation because that's not good basketball. If you rely just isolation 101 a whole lot, it's not gonna go well most likely, especially in the long run. It's better to either you want to give some isolation, but don't rely too much. You want to move the ball around, ball movement, some cutters, pick and rolls. I would like to see I would like to see a two-man pick and roll type of game between Dwyane Wade and Jimmy Butler, kind of like you see with Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler the last two seasons. It's like pick your poison. Either try try to defend Jimmy Butler going to the basket, or you could force it, which you can have Derrick Rose forced to go to the paint, attack the basket. It's like pick your poison. Like I said, we don't. For some reason, they don't run that very often. But when they did the last two seasons, it was mostly a success. I'd like to see that pick and roll with a two-man pick and roll game between Dwyane Wade and Jimmy Butler. I think it would be great. For Rajon Rondo, you probably need shooters around him that make him more effective. You probably need play Nicola, Doug McDermott, and even Denzel Valentine play with Rajon Rondo a lot more. I'd like to see Fred Hoiberg be a little bit creative with his rotation to play Dwyane Wade a little bit at the point guard for a little bit when you rest Rajon Rondo on the bench, especially when you rest both Jimmy Butler and Rajon Rondo on the bench. Keep at least one of your starters with the second unit at all times. You would like to see Rajon Rondo play with the shooters with Nicola, Doug McDermott, and Denzel Valentine. Same with Dwyane Wade. You want to play Dwyane Wade with the shooters with Doug McDermott, Denzel Valentine, and Nicola. Same apply with Jimmy Butler. When you decide to rest both Dwyane Wade and Rajon Rondo, play Jimmy with the shooters to help spread out the floor. That will help rely on your system. You got to be creative. That's what Fred Hoiberg needs to do. Be creative with his substitution. But don't do a 10-man rotation. Do at least a 9-man rotation. Stick at least one of your starters on the floor at all times. That's what he should do this coming season. And it may help to run your system more effective with pace and spread out the floor. It will be interesting how Fred Hoiberg will do, how he gonna do with his rotation, how he's gonna make the system work for spread out the floor when you decide with Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler, and Dwyane Wade. It'll be a whole lot of interest. It'll be a very interesting how this works. I hope it will work, and I'm 50-50. You know what? No, not 50-50. I am pretty confident it can work out. With Dwyane Wade. I am skeptical with the sign of Rajon Rondo. Skeptical, and I still am. But the good news is that both Dwyane Wade and Rajon Rondo signed a short-term deal. So if things work out well, great. If not, cut loose. At least that you don't really sign him a long-term deal. But Dwyane Wade, of course, you can compare between Dwyane Wade and Rajon Rondo because Dwyane Wade is a much better player. That's obvious. He's a great player. Yes, he is 34-year-old and he's declining, but I do think he has a few years, I would say 2-3 years left in him. That's what I think. So we see what happens. I am pretty excited for this season. To be honest with you, I did say the last, I believe, couple of episodes ago on the Bulls Talk podcast that before the signing of Dwyane Wade and even before the signing of Rajon Rondo, that I don't expect the Chicago Bulls to make the playoffs this year in the Eastern Conference. Even when they pick up just Rajon Rondo, I don't expect the Chicago Bulls to make the playoffs. I expect them to the lottery. But now with the sign of Dwyane Wade, I expect them to make the playoffs. I don't expect them to win the NBA championship. I don't expect them to go to even go to the NBA finals. No, it's possible they could go to the Eastern Conference finals, which is a possibility because after all, the Eastern Conference is still, you know, beside the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are the favorites, obvious. The Eastern Conference is wide open to go to the any teams can go to there could be any teams that go to the conference finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. While Cleveland Cavaliers are the rightfully favorites to win the Eastern Conference to go head back to the NBA Finals, and it's possible that Chicago Bulls potentially could go to the Eastern Conference Final at the very least. Of course, there is potentially this could be a disaster for the Chicago Bulls. They could miss the playoffs. So you never know. It could be. There is potentially to be a disaster for the Chicago Bulls, and it could miss the playoffs again for the second year in a row. The highest seed I could see them making the playoffs is the third seed in the Eastern Conference. Maybe number 2 seed, but that maybe. But I could see them number 3, to be honest with you, with the highest. At the lowest, I say 10th, meaning miss the playoffs. And I'm gonna be straight with you. If somehow the Chicago Bulls miss the playoffs again, then it tells you that Fred Hoiberg is not the one to coach the team, and he should be fired. Period. If you can't make this thing work again, like you can't get things to work last season, especially you have the talent you have on the roster, he should be fired and take Gar Forman with him, since he's the one first hand picked Fred Hoiberg to be the head coach for the Chicago Bulls. So we will see what happens, how things work out. Hopefully it will work out well. Like I said, I understand about the quiz saying how this will fit, and I understand how when Gar Forman, and I talk about this too, a couple, even last episode and other episode, that Gar Forman stayed in the press conference at the time that he wants this team to get young and more athletic. While the Chicago Bulls, with the sign of Rajon Rondo and Dwyane Wade, it's the opposite. Dwyane Wade is the age of 34-year-old, and Rajon Rondo is the age of 30-year-old. That's not being young. And Dwyane Wade, while I think he's still somewhat athletic, and he showed that last season, but not as athletic like he used to be. He is declining. But there's that. Excuse me. And I can see why they criticized that. Why, criticize the Bulls' move. But let me ask you this. Let me ask whoever criticized, whether it's them from the media, any media outlet, Bulls fans, or any fan base. Tell me something. Will you pass up to sign Dwyane Wade if he's available? Will you? Even if he's the age of 34, whether your team is rebuilding, retooling, or a contender, it doesn't matter. Will you pass up to sign Dwyane Wade? Let me ask you that. Yeah, I dare you. I like to see your answer. I want to hear your answers. And say, will you dare to pass up signing him if he's available, even if he's the age of 34-year-old and slowly declining? But potentially you could have at least 2-3 years left in the tank. Will you pass up with him? I don't think about it. Do you want to expect the Chicago Bulls to pass up signing Dwyane Wade? I can understand why you criticize the signing of Rajon Rondo because of his history in the locker room with battle, with culture, especially with the Dallas Mavericks. But Dwyane Wade, will you pass up sign him? I think not. Think about it for a second. I wouldn't pass up signing Dwyane Wade, even despite he's the age of 34-year-old. The only thing I will not like to do is give him a long-term deal, like a 3-year deal or 4 years deal right now at this point of his career. Now the Bulls has signed him a short-term deal, 2 years, with the player option after this coming season, which you can option out of the contract, become a free agent next summer again. Um, and that's that's the bottom line. That's a short-term deal, so why not? Um, just think about what I just asked. Uh, I wouldn't. I would sign Dwyane Wade, rather than but put butts sit on the seats, make some money from the tickets to sell out arenas. That's smart business move, and at the same time, and I believe for the Chicago Bulls, make them interesting again. I believe someone from CSN Chicago from the other day, they say the same thing. It would make this. I can't remember who. Um, he even stated, it make this team interesting again. It make this team relevant again, and that's what the Chicago Bulls desperately need. Especially if you want to get a top free agents in 2017, which I believe this will line up with the signing of Dwyane Wade will help in terms of recruitment process. Doesn't guarantee it will work, but Dwyane Wade is a respectable player around the league. He's a superstar. He's a star in the league. He's a proven superstar, proven NBA player, established, and this is a setup to help recruit top free agents from possible 2017. Excuse me, to set up to get top free agents in 2017 and possibly set up for 2018, especially if things not work out well in 2017, or can't sign two max deal, but you might be able to sign one max deal, but could line up, get cap space in 2018. Excuse me, can sign up max another max deal in 2018 if the Chicago Bulls play their card right. Um, so that's a possibility. Keep in mind, 2017 free agents could be a lot of top free agents. You got Stephen Curry, which is unrealistic. Let's face it, he very likely could stay with the Golden State Warriors. You got Kevin Durant, who can option out of his contract next summer, but I think he'll stay with the Golden State Warriors, so he's unrealistic. But you got Chris Paul, you got Blake Griffin, and you got Russell Westbrook will become free agents next summer. Think about it for a second. This sign of Dwyane Wade will benefit and and line up the plan to get top free agents next year and possibly 2018. And the 2018 free agents are pretty good from what I know. I believe DeMarcus Cousins will be a free agent in 2018, and Paul George will be a free agent in 2018. If things doesn't work out well in 2017, or not, if you can't get two max. Now keep in mind, to offer two max deals for next summer, it all depends. I believe you got to have Wade option out his contract, option Rondo contract out, Washer Rondo, and then of course you got to re-announce Nikola Wrights on his contract, become a unrestricted free agent, which Nikola will be a restricted free agent next summer. So you have to resign his resign, make him unrestricted free agent, and re-announce his rights. And of course, Taj Gibson will be off the book next summer, and you got those other non-guaranteed deals too. And if needed, the Chicago Bulls could trade Robin Lopez to clear more cap room if needed, if they needed to get two max deals or even one. So that's a possibility. That's why the Chicago Bulls signed with Dwyane Wade. I know these media, especially ESPN media, that are analyzed for the NBA are no for well not I wouldn't say no. They're more like, how do I put this nicely? That lack of knowledge. Yeah, there I say it. I say it. Lack of knowledge in terms of basketball, in terms of NBA, you know, in terms of, not just lack of knowledge, period. And that's so they just don't know much basketball. Don't get me wrong, there are some expert, especially from ESPN. There's some expert from ESPN are pretty knowledgeable regarding they knowing their NBA hoops, but very rare, very rare. Um, while other media outlets, well, they had the right to criticize, but I had the right to criticize too, and then criticize to the media. Uh, um, and I just did. um, I apologize for that because it just kind of angers me a little bit how we see criticize after criticize after criticize. Now some of them I agree, but man, some of them are just absurd, left and right, and don't understand why the signing of Dwyane Wade. I can understand a little bit with the skeptical, with criticize with the signing of Wando, but Dwyane Wade, come on now. Like I asked you this earlier, if Dwyane Wade was available to you and you have cap room, whether you have cap room or not, will you especially if you have cap room or you think you can clear cap to sign Dwyane Wade, will you pass up that opportunity to sign Dwyane Wade? Think about it. Think long and hard, and then you get back to me. I I like to see if someone say, no, I pass up signing Dwyane Wade, despite his age, despite his decline slowly. Especially you able to sign maybe a short term deal, which is what the Chicago Bulls did, sign him a short term deal. Take that criticism and shove it up your ass. I apologize for my language because that gets me angry with some of the criticism for so much regarding criticizing the Chicago Bulls signing. And as I stated before, I understand some of the criticism with the pickups Dwyane Wade, where you coming from. That doesn't match what Gar Forman said when he said you look for athleticism and getting younger, getting younger and getting athleticism, which it doesn't match his expression when he pick up Dwyane Wade and Wando. I understand that. I understand why the criticism regarding how does it fit under Fred Hoiberg's system with the spread out the floor and pace. To pick up Dwyane Wade and Wando when neither of those players, including Jimmy Butler, are not known as a good outside shooters. I understand that, but beside those points, you criticize other aspects. That's where I draw the line. Okay, that's where I draw the line. That's just absurd, and it's getting ridiculous with all these local medias and national medias, especially ESPN medias. The signing of Dwyane Wade potentially help them get top free agents the next 2 years, 2017 and 2018, when top class. Doesn't guarantee you they will pick up top free agents, but it help their chance greater if they play their cards right. That is, and I talk about the Chicago's had to play their cards right. So we see what happens. Uh, what else I have to say? Um, I'm excited for the season, and like I say, they're not. I always say this: Chicago Bulls are not contenders for the sign, but they are a playoff team by paper, and they should make the playoffs. If not, then you got to think hard. Is Fred Hoiberg the guy to coach this team? You give him the axe, and you probably give Gar Forman the axe since he's the one handpicked Fred Hoiberg as the head coach to replace Tom Thibodeau. But other than that, yeah. What else to say, man? I'm I'm exhausted right now because I'm speechless. I'm still surprised with the sign that Dwayne Wade will leave the Miami Heat. And that's speaking of which, there are some. Dwayne Wade hasn't officially signed the contract yet, but there's reports that tomorrow, on Monday, that he will take a physical with the Chicago Bulls and sign the contract, sign the dollar line next. I mean tomorrow before he headed to trip to China, and he will go to China for that some which is for some marketing trip, and they won't do a conference, a press conference to introduce Dwayne Wade until close to the end of this month, possibly July 29, I believe. But he will sign a contract tomorrow. Now there's some fans are overreacting, think that Dwayne Wade will pull what D'Angelo Jordan did last summer when he was free agent, when he verbal agreement to play for the Dallas Mavericks, but he has second thoughts to sign, and then he has second thoughts and decided to resign with the LA Clippers last summer. Now, Bulls fans, there are some Bulls fans are scared, think that Dwayne Wade may have second thoughts and sign to stay with the Miami Heat. Come on now, really? Seriously, Bulls? Take a chill pill, Bulls fan. Come on, man. Think about this. That's not gonna happen. First off, it's a lot different than what D'Angelo Jordan. Dwayne Wade has stayed on national TV, especially on that talk show when he was hosting with Kelly on Thursday, this past Thursday. He stayed on the national TV and also stayed on Twitter that he'll be going to Chicago Bulls. What make him? This will make him look bad if he has second thought and decides to stay with the Miami Heat. Think about it for a second. This will be a bad PR on Dwayne Wade's part if he pulls what D'Angelo Jordan did last summer. And plus, at the same time, the Miami Heat are over the cap now. With their recent signing, they're over the cap, and that means that Dwayne Wade, they don't have enough cap room to keep Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade has to take a huge, possibly 20 million pay cut, significant 20 million pay cut to stay with the Miami Heat. Come on now, you think he's gonna take a $20 million pay cut, significant pay cut to stay with the Miami Heat? No, the answer is no. He is a Chicago Bulls. Okay, calm down, everyone. He will be a Chicago Bulls. I don't think he's not like D'Angelo Jordan and make second thoughts. And plus, like I say, Miami Heat doesn't have no cap, not much. They are over the cap. And if he stay the Miami Heat, he has to take a huge, significant pay cut. Possibly, I think, 20 million pay cut. You think he's gonna take that kind of huge pay cut, significant pay cut? I don't think, especially to a team who lowballing him. And now this is much more lowballing. No, all right. So calm down, relax. He's gonna be a Chicago Bulls. He's all right. Think about it, man. Before, no need to overreact. Just calm down. He will be a Chicago Bulls, and he will sign that officially downline reports from tomorrow after he takes his physical. There's no concern for that. And what do you expect? Anyways, think about it for a second. A lot of people think that he may regret, sound emotional. Duh, he is emotional. He is human after all. I mean, I stated this podcast. I won't state this again. You've been spending with the Miami Heat for 13 years, 13 long years. You built a great, strong relationship with that organization. He's a icon for that organization in Miami. He's an icon. He built that culture with the Miami Heat. He won 3 championships over there. Come on now, what do you expect? Of course he could be emotional. Of course he's gonna be all heartbroken. He's human after all. He's no robot. This is gonna be new to him for a little bit. Once he gets used to it, he's gonna love playing for the Chicago Bulls, his hometown. After all, he even say that this is a dream of him to want to play for the Chicago Bulls when he was a kid, when he's growing up, watching when Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls back in the days. Of course, he's gonna be emotional. Of course, he's heartbreaking. Man, think about it. Of course. Uh, that's my message to you, all my Bulls, to all my fellow Bulls fans who listen to this podcast. Calm down, relax. I understand about the worrisome that he may have second thoughts, but think about it. It's not gonna happen. I already say what the reason are. Miami Heat are over the cap. He's not like Andrew Jordan. That's gonna be a really bad PR on his part. And I don't think he's like that type of person. Once he makes his mind up and he already make an agreement, he already decide, announce it on in public, on national wise, on Twitter, social media. He's not gonna change his mind. I very doubt it. No. Okay? Just calm down. Yeah. um. So I want to ask everyone this: what's your expectation this season for the Chicago Bulls? I already give my expectation. I expect them to make the playoffs. I could see them go from the number 3 seed, maybe number 2 seed, but I could see them number 3 at the highest in the Eastern Conference. Um, what's your expectation for this coming season for the Chicago Bulls? What's your um what's your prediction of Dwyane Wade's statistic for this coming season? I don't really practically have exactly um but I don't have a really a prediction for his statistic for this coming season. But I could see he's in terms of efficiently go a little bit slightly up compared to last season. I believe last season if he shoot like about 45% from the field last season. I could see it goes slightly up because keep in mind Jimmy Butler will be the number one option and it will take pressure off Dwyane Wade. It will take pressure off Dwyane Wade, in which it may help him boost up his statistic a little bit in terms of points per game. He's efficiency, his percentage from the field, and possibly it may rack up his assists a little bit more, maybe. I know last season he averaged like 4.6 assists per game. It may boost up a little bit slightly, but not much. But we see. I could see that his stats slightly go up, slightly, not significantly, but slightly for all these categories for this coming season. What's your prediction of his statistic for this season? Um, what's your expectation? What's your prediction for the Chicago Bulls for this coming season? Feel free to post your prediction on the comments on YouTube. Post a comment once after the when you listen to this podcast uploaded. Feel free to post a comment your prediction for this season for the Chicago Bulls and your prediction of Dwyane Wade statistically. Heck, I will ask what's your prediction of Rajon Rondo statistically for this season? What's your opinion on the Chicago Bulls pickup sign of Dwyane Wade? Please, I want your feedback. I want your comment. What you think about this Chicago Bulls latest sign of Dwyane Wade? What else? You know what? Also, another thing, the sign of Dwyane Wade, and even the sign of Rajon Rondo. Even though I'm very skeptical with the sign of Rajon Rondo, more so, this may benefit the other Bulls player. This could help boost up, especially Jimmy Butler. This may boost up Jimmy Butler grow as a player. It may help improve the aspect of his game a little bit more with the sign of Dwyane Wade and even Rajon Rondo. This could potentially be disaster, but this could potentially may work out. Especially could help out young players like Doug McDermott, Denzel Valentine, Nicola, and even someone like Spencer Dinwiddie if he stick with the team for this season, or Gerald Grant possibility, or maybe even Tony Snell. It's a lost cause with Tony Snell. I lost confidence in him, but you never know. This may help benefits him too. with the sign of Dwyane Wade and Rajon Rondo, this may help benefit the players' growth and improve their aspect of their game, which is possibility. Possibility. But there are the pros and there are the cons. The cons could be a disaster, potentially a disaster. But the pros, this could work out. In all other aspect, could help improve the players' aspect of their games. Could help develop getting better, understanding the game better, especially for Denzel Valentine, will come this season as a rookie. This will benefit. You will learn a lot from both Dwyane Wade and Rajon Rondo, um, and this may help lure top free agent for the next 2 years, potentially the next 2 years, especially more so at 2017. But don't be surprised, this may help the next 2 year potentially. Um, there's like I say, it's not just the cons, but also there's the pros for the sign of Dwyane Wade and even Rajon Rondo, and this is coming from who's very negative and skeptical about the sign of Rajon Rondo, but not much as Dwyane Wade. After all, this is Dwyane Wade we're talking about. Um, so, uh, what else I got to say? Um, that's pretty much I cover it really. Um, and I like I say, let me ask you this: are you excited for this season? Okay, before the sign of Dwyane Wade, were you excited for the Chicago Bulls this season? And now, compared to after the signing of Dwyane Wade, are you now excited of this coming season? Feel free to post a comment on the YouTube, and also, and I'm going to come to the conclusion before I end this podcast. Um, Feel free to follow me on Twitter. Again, my Twitter username is PDUH10. And also on YouTube, my podcast is called, my username I use for this podcast is called Bulls Talk. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I like to thank everyone who listened to my podcast, to this episode, and my other episode. Um, I like to thank anyone who subscribed to my YouTube channel, and please, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. I'd like to thank anyone who followed me on Twitter, and I'd like to thank for some of the whether positive or negative feedback regarding my Bulls Talk podcast. And like I say this before, and I'll say this again. Feedback is always welcome. Feel free to post the comments on YouTube. Feel free to even give me feedback on Twitter. So always feel free to do so. For my next episode for the Bulls Talk podcast, at the earliest, I would say next Sunday. I'm gonna try to do a podcast usually once a week for the Bulls Talk. Once a week, maybe even now and then twice a week. It depends, but mostly it'll be once a week. So my earliest podcast for the next episode will be at the earliest next week, and hoping maybe next week I would do like a show, like I said, possible a show of tribute and talk about memories regarding both Choking Noah and Derrick Rose, which is possible I'm aiming at for the next, what be my next episode will be about for next Sunday at the earliest. Unless of course things change, like today, what happened this past week, just last week actually, the signed right away, I move it up. So just in case unless something comes up, I'll let you guys know when I do the next episode. If not, that's what I'm gonna talk about for the next episode next Sunday. So again, I want to thank anyone who listened to this podcast and my other episode. Feel free to subscribe to my Bulls Talk YouTube channel, and feel free to post your comment, post your feedback, answer my question. I ask, what's your prediction for this coming season for the Chicago Bulls? Do you expect them to make the playoffs? What seed in the Eastern Conference? What's your expectation? What's your prediction on Dwyane Wade's statistic for this season? What's your prediction on Wando's statistic for this season? What's your do you expect that the sign of Wando and Dwyane Wade will make an impact for the team, or even impact possibly in growth of developing the players like Jimmy Butler, Doug McDermott, Nicola, Denzel Valentine, and many more? What's your prediction? Feel free to post a comment on my YouTube channel. Feel free to post your feedback. What you think of this podcast? What do you think? What I need to improve this podcast? And I say this before, and I will say this again. I always looking to improve my podcast, and I'm trying my best to improve it. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to improve it. So, anyways, thank you everyone, and have a rest of a good rest. I can't say it. Have a good evening, everyone.